Well, the Shenmue. So the What? So the Shenmue trailer has finally hit. I don't know about any of you, but I've been waiting years for this. Literally, it's been over a decade.
What's a decade, Gundam?
It's 10 years. So it's been longer than that. To see what would happen with Ryo Hazuki's story, I was enthralled with the first and second Shenmue. It inspired me to go out and get a job in a loading dock and practicing kung fu poorly in parking lots, then being robbed later on in the day. Do you know where sailors hang out? But in all honesty and all jokes aside, this trailer isn't exactly awe-inspiring. I mean, it almost seems like a joke. It kinda does. I know it's real. Maybe, they're just showing the motion capturing of the bodies and the facial animations coming later. But my god, I'd almost think the character models look better in the last game. I know it's a stretch to say, but I don't know, there's something about this one that isn't grabbing me. What the hell is going on? I mean, the locations are beautiful, but really, do they have to have characters that look this ridiculous? I know what you're saying. What about Shenmue 1 with the character that looked like Golan from Lord of the Rings? Okay, I get you, but to be fair, Shenmue 1 came out before Lord of the Rings, so maybe Lord of the Rings ripped off Golan from them, in terms of what it looked like. Ugh, my god, my inner weeaboo is weeping. I mean, I still hold out hope that it's going to be good. As long as the story and the combat's good, then I don't care if the facial animations look like they came off a Lego set. Just please, God, let it be a good game. And really, when you think about it in other senses, it's fucking Shenmue. I mean, everything that open world games are now, Shenmue pioneered, So it's kind of like, I don't know, I can't think of a good analogy. It's like saying you want to kick Davy Crockett in the balls because you saw a video of him checking out a forest and you're like, what a fucking scrub. This video sucks. But in the long run, Davy Crockett sort of pioneered going through the motherfucking forest and fucking with twigs and shit. I can't think of anything. Let's move on. In other gaming news, Final Fantasy 15 director says nude models are up to the moral sense of the community. This is good news. I mean, I've been waiting forever to see those guys naked. I don't know about you, but me personally, that one with the tattoo, he's looking pretty scruffy in the right ways. What? All jokes aside, though, this is actually pretty cool, considering that the creator of Dead or Alive said that if PC gamers didn't play in a good and moral manner, which means if you created nude mods for the Dead or Alive characters, that they weren't going to port any more games to the PC. So we already know how that went. This is one thing you don't do. You don't threaten the PC community. You just don't. And two, Dead or Alive, suck my dick, dude. Dead or Alive blows. It does. Dead or Alive is boring. I mean, it was fun when I was a kid, but now with the intricacies of like Tekken and other games in that sort of manner, I'm not interested in Dead or Alive. Who cares? It's all about Dead or Alive volleyball, if you ask me. Well, to quote the creator, or the people behind Final Fantasy 15, and I quote, "This is part of the culture of gaming these days. These people, it's a thing they bought. It's theirs now," he said. "I don't think this is a good thing, but we're going to leave it to the moral sense of the players out there. I basically want, as a principle, to give them as much freedom and as little limitations on it as possible." End quote. It's cool that they're fine with nude mods, as it's probably going to happen. I mean, for Final Fantasy, I guess I wouldn't really see the point unless you wanted everyone to be naked, I guess, I can understand a nude mod if you're changing your character's clothing, and you know how I feel, like, nobody's just gonna, like, strip down just to, forget it. Well, anyway, the sort of weird hypocrisy in the whole thing, especially Final Fantasy, is the fact that the character Cindy looks kind of like she's ready to come out on a fucking stage and start stripping under the name Dusty Gazangas. I mean, really, could we just not pretend that there isn't already some sort of vein of unrealistic hypersexuality already incorporated into the game? And let's face it, the 4 or 5 guys, or however many characters are in this road trip together, all of them look like they're from a K-pop band and could pick up chicks. Let's be real here. Final Fantasy is in and of itself a huge fantasy. You can't sit here and tell me good-looking people are out saving the world. And don't you dare talk about your one friend that's like a firefighter or something like that. Hey, he's a good person, they're very attractive, and they fight fires. Like, that's great. But are they gonna beat a dragon or something? That's what I'm talking about. It isn't like, you know what I mean, for God's sakes. Some good-looking person is gonna jump in front of you to catch a bullet, like in Japanese anime and video games. They're going to push you out of the way because you're in the way of their light source, and they really need that light source for their Instagram filter and profile, stupid ass, because their Instagram famous for just standing around and taking photos and looking good. That's the horrible future we live in. When the creators of Instagram created Instagram, I wonder if they thought one day there will be a whole bunch of talentless assholes who are just good looking, and they'll be famous and make money off of the fact they're breathing. That's my dream for the future of the children of tomorrow.
Someone's jealous because he looks like a toad.
Don't you talk to me like that, asshole. My father's Steve Buscemi. Also, they've already released what their recommended specs for Final Fantasy 15 will be. The recommended specs for 4K 60, that is. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Everything is like, this thing is loaded with NVIDIA GameWorks crap, so, sucks to suck if you have AMD. Nothing personal, but, you know, that's how these guys roll. They screw you over with this proprietary crap. It's got NVIDIA Flow, creates vivid combustible fluid fire and smoke. NVIDIA Hairworks, because that went so well for Witcher. NVIDIA Shadowworks, oh boy, enables characters to cast shadows on themselves. NVIDIA Turf Effects creates lifelike grass and vegetation in-game environments. I kind of have a feeling this is going to be sluggish on anything that isn't like a high-end NVIDIA card like a Titan or 1080 Ti. NVIDIA VXAO adds depth and realism based on physical principles, shadows, and lighting. And lastly, the recommended specs for Final Fantasy 15. It will not need 170 gigabytes of HDD space. That was a mistake. Blah, blah, blah. GeForce 1080 Ti is recommended with an Intel i7 3.4 gigahertz or higher, or a Ryzen 7 1700, 16 gigabytes of RAM. Monitor that supports 4K and HDR. Yeah, let me go get that. Let me just clear up $1,700 to have an HDR monitor just for this. And 5.1 or 7.1 stereo surround sound headphones. Got it, don't really care. So you want to run the equivalent of that. If you got two 980s and SLI, you could still do this. Probably 580s too. So well, how many people have that going on? Let's move on to the next story, huh? And in the final bit of news I guess I'm going to mess with for the time being, We Happy Few is coming out in 2018 to consoles now, and it's going to be a, quote, full-size retail game with a full-sized retail price, meaning that We Happy Few is like $60 now. It also has a season pass. I had a lot of hope for this game. The recent updates look pretty good, and I figured it was going to be out soon. I was like, alright, sweet. A lot of people say they went from a narrative game to becoming a survival game, and it almost, to me now, feels like We Happy Few is going with the tides. Because if it went from a narrative game to a survival game, which is when I came in, and it felt kind of like Ark or any other survival game I was playing at the time. Well, not really like Ark in the sense of like you got hungry, you got tired, you had to sleep, you had to eat, you know, and you had to resource gather to make stuff, but there was no base building or anything. In that sense, I was kind of like, alright. But I wanted more story, and they were like, the story is coming later, and I'm like, I can't wait for the story to hit. It seems very interesting in the initial part of the game when if you're on the early alpha and such, you know, the game starts out and it's very enthralling. And then you just jumped off being a survival mode. Little stories unfold, little tiny NPC ones, but overall, my hype for it is now draining, especially knowing that there's going to be a season pass. And it's going to be on consoles too. Not saying that the game being on consoles is a bad thing, but usually when games go to console, it's kind of like the broad scale you expect kind of like dwindles down, if you know what I mean. And it's now $60. I don't feel We Happy Few is a $60 game in its current state, and I highly doubt they're going to do anything in the next year to make it a $60 game at all. I mean, as someone who's been messing with it for what, 2 years now? I don't see them doing anything in a year that's going to blow my mind, because I've been on this for a while and there's nothing too surprising. And especially when you have a game like Hellblade out that isn't $60. I mean, it proves that there doesn't have to be a constant sort of $60 gate all the time. And I quote, DLC for this is not carving out existing content. It's building new content that we wouldn't have been able to do as part of the main game. It's risky because now that we've announced it, we're committing to it. it's our first time doing it, so maybe in a year we'll have a different opinion. In the meantime, once the work on the game finishes up, we'll have a bit of a rest and then dive into the wacky world of DLC. Well, at least it's not carving out existing content, not like there's that much to begin with right now as someone who's been playing it. And I'm not trying to be an asshole or anything, this is coming from someone who has a press copy of the game. I like it, I don't feel it's $60. I honestly like it, but I'm not going to be one of those people that are on Twitch every day talking about how amazing this game is now, like before. Like, for real. Now we're getting real right now. And I don't think the developers of this game give a crap about me. They haven't spoken to me or said anything to me in years anyway, so whatever. Ever since this mainstream sort of $60 price tag crap has gone on, where they got pulled in by a bigger company, their Twitter feed has been blowing up with like people streaming the game, talking about how amazing the game is, blah 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 blah, like more than has ever been the entire time I've been following them since I've been on Twitter. It almost seems premeditated from me personally. I understand that they're trying to market and everything, but it kind of comes off a tad bit disingenuous. Kind of like when Hillary Clinton was on the campaign trail and she's on some black radio show telling black people she carries around a bottle of hot sauce with her.
They said no, she has to go.
What's something that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you getting information right now? People are going to see this and say, okay, she's pandering to black people again.
Okay. Is it working?
Maybe Hillary Clinton was telling the truth, but it don't fucking matter. It came off disingenuous. And I'm just saying I'm getting that same vibe right now with all these popular streamers. Oh, we happy for you today. Woo, it's amazing. It's a great game. Congratulations, guys. It's only going to get better from here. And it's just like, God, I shouldn't be talking like this because I've been doing fairly good. I've been getting companies to pay attention to me, and now I'm telling the truth again. I'm a dumbass. And on that note, I probably pontificated far too long. I can actually give more of a shit than me about anything in this world or this life. Rate, comment, subscribe if you so choose to. If not, that's totally fine with me. But remember, the more people that follow me on social media, the more people that subscribe to me, it makes my voice louder in the community, and companies are forced to take me somewhat seriously. And in a world where all the guys who used to be heroes are turning into villains, you're going to need somebody else to step up to the plate and go, hey, things are a little messy here, and we don't like it. And at least they might hear me and then go, suck a dick, you faggot. We're going to go deal with a respectable guy like Total Biscuit. Well, adios, bichachos.